Research is the base building block to the entire recruiting process, and if you're not on point with researching schools that are actually a good fit, you may be in for a world of hurt. This video will detail the importance of starting the process off on the right foot, and that begins with proper research.
Making a list is really important. Finding the location and just deciding, first of all, if the player wants to stay on the West Coast, if they're from the West Coast, if they want to go to the East Coast, Midwest, or whatever the case may be. But deciding a general location is always a good start. The next step would be finding the right academic fit. So sometimes players don't really have the right realization of where they fit academically. If they're a very academic student, they should be able to find an academic school that fits all their needs. Or on the other end, if they're not particularly academic, finding the top academic schools sometimes is a mistake early in their process. The soccer part, seeing if they fit, seeing if they can play there, but if they can make an impact and if the style of soccer makes a difference, that's a huge part of it. The size of the school, there's completely different experience going to a school of 2,000 versus a school of 40,000, and that's an important part that players and parents and families need to recognize and understand. That is a big part of the experience. And then the last part is financially what it means, especially in soccer when full scholarships are very few and far between, and almost nobody's getting a full scholarship, or very few, small percentage. So making sure that it can work with the family's finances.
Definitely, my parents and I have taken a lot of time into researching our schools. We definitely go online, and I know I make a lot of bullet points of what I look for in a college, and so then I search upon those bullet points and see what schools pop up.
My one piece of advice would be to keep your options open and to keep your mind open. If you go in with this idea that you're going to go to one certain school, and that's your dream school and that's all you want to go to, the more you go through high school, the more you might learn that that's not the right school for you. So if you keep an open mind, I think you'll be better off when it comes time to really picking a school, because you have more options available.
Players really need to keep an open mind when they're putting schools on their list. We always recommend to get upwards of 30 schools when they're starting this process, because as you go forward with the process, schools are going to drop off your list for a number of reasons. Maybe I'm speaking to a coach and they've already committed to a goalkeeper or two goalkeepers my age. Maybe I can't afford the school. Maybe I don't like the coach once I finally get to know him. Maybe I don't like the players. There's probably 20 or 30 more reasons that school would drop off my list. So if I start with around 10 or 12 schools at the beginning and these schools start dropping off my list, I may end up with 1 or 0 and not have any options. But if I start with over 30, at the end of the day, I'm going to have options, maybe 5 or 6 schools that I'm able to choose from.
I think it's really a lack of work in the research, ultimately. They may be gung-ho about going to play school at going to play soccer at that specific school, and then not thinking about all the other areas. Obviously, you're a student first and an athlete second when it comes to college. And sometimes young soccer players, they forget that. They just go gung-ho with the soccer. You have to take that out of the equation a little bit and think, if soccer wasn't going to be part of your college experience because of an injury or other things that may happen, are you still going to be happy at that school for 4 years? Are you doing the academics that you really want to do there? Is it an area that you love?
Watch college games. Go to your local games. You can see many different schools. Go to the internet. Look, a lot of schools are showing their games on TV. Make sure you fit their style and your academics. Do a little research before you pick your school. Don't just follow the name. Do a little research.
Well, I think players are usually very unrealistic when they start the process about where they actually think that they can play or where they actually think they can get in. When you first ask a player, where do you want to go to school? And the first thing that comes out of their mouth is UCLA, Stanford, Notre Dame. Wow. You realistically think that you can play at those schools? And this is probably the most difficult thing for coaches and directors, is because sometimes you really have to bring these players back from La La Land if they're truly going to help. And if you're going to ask your help from your coaches and your directors at your club, you got to make sure that you're looking at realistic schools. They're not calling Harvard for you when you have a 3.0, and they're not calling UCLA for you if you're just not at that level. This process isn't about puffing out your chest and having to play at the biggest name school. This process should be about matching your academics, your athletics, your field preferences, your school preferences, and finding an overall fit for your future.